Are you just all in on the Apple ecosystem? Do you listen to a ton of digital music and videos, especially streaming? Do you want wireless? Do you want noise canceling? Do you prefer over-the-ear headphones? And do you have $550 just lightsabering a hole in your gear fund? If you answered yes to all of these questions, literally nothing else matters. Not codecs, not cables, not comparisons, not even cost, not even cases. If you answered yes, to quote Flossy Carter, Apple's new AirPods Max are a major, 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 quad major go. If you answered not sure though, to any of them, then I'm gonna go through just everything that really matters. So hit that subscribe button and bell, and let's do this. Sponsored by Skillshare. The best way I can explain the AirPods Max is by relating them back to the iPhone camera. Just go with me here for a moment. Compared to Canon and Sony and their huge multi-$1,000 sensors and glass, the iPhone camera is just all shades of tiny and kind of pathetic. But the iPhone can still deliver pretty damn amazing photos and videos. So why? Because what it lacks in big sensor and big glass, it makes up for with big compute. Apple takes a relatively small amount of visual data streaming in through the camera system and just computationals the hell out of it, stacking and bracketing multiple exposures, rendering semantically based on an understanding of the scene and subject, tone mapping, just all the jargon to create a final algorithmic machine-learned photo or video that's far beyond what it has any right to be. Same with Google and the Pixel camera. Similarly, compared to multi-thousand, multi-tens of thousands of dollars in audio equipment, and DACs and interfaces and CDs, and sure, vinyl, what you get over low-power wireless, regardless of bitrate or codec or anything, is just even more shades of tiny and pathetic. But the AirPods Max take that small amount of audio data, streaming in, and just, computational similar kinds of hell out of it. Figures out the instruments and the vocals, takes any stereo or surround or Atmos data, adaptively EQs based on the position of the cups, the shape of your ears, whatever you're wearing on or around them, maps spatial audio relative to any iOS device you may be watching on, and creates a final algorithmic machine-learned 3D soundstage that's just beyond what it has any right to be. When Apple created the original HomePod, they intended for anyone who didn't have audio in a room, who wanted quality audio but just didn't have the expertise and didn't want to go to all the trouble of wiring it all up, to be able to just drop the HomePod pretty much anywhere in the room and have it sound great from pretty much anywhere in the room. And not just lossless or high bitrate or CD or sure, vinyl, but Apple Music, Spotify, Netflix, Disney+, TV+. In other words, modern digital audio, more often than not sizzling just straight off the internet, and have it sound amazing. AirPods Pro were basically that. HomePod tech just pin-particled down and shoved into our ear holes. AirPods Max are basically just more of that. HomePod tech turned inwards and strapped over our ears. And for doing that, delivering that modern digital and internet audio wirelessly into our brains and hearts with full-on noise canceling and transparency modes, AirPods Max aren't just the best thing in this category. They pretty much are this new category, at least for now, the iPhone or Pixel phone camera of headphones. Except instead of smart HDR and portrait mode, they are giving us adaptive EQ and spatial audio for a price. Now, you can use the AirPods Max if you only have an iPhone. You can even use them if you only have an Android phone, or no phone at all. Apple sells a $35 Lightning to 3.5mm headphone cable that has a two-way analog to digital converter in it. So you can plug the AirPods Max into everything from an in-flight entertainment system to traditional audio gear. But it really is just a bonus, something that increases the utility of the AirPods Max once you get them, something that lets your wireless headphones wire up if you really need them to for specific things. In other words, frosting, not cake. If all you want or need is wired headphones, just get cheaper wired headphones. Same with vanilla Bluetooth, which is how the AirPods Max connect to everything just not Apple, Android, Windows, whatever. It's just Bluetooth. which is either damning with faint praise or praising with faint damnation. Let me know which in the comments. The point is, if all you want are Bluetooth headphones, get cheaper Bluetooth headphones. It's when you have an iPhone or an iPad that the AirPods Max start to show their real value, and for reasons I'll get to in a hot minute. When you have an iPhone and an iPad or a Mac, and a Mac, any combo of multiple Apple devices, all Apple devices, that's when they start to force multiply that value. Because like the in-ear AirPods and the AirPods Pro, not only are they super easy, that's right, barely an inconvenience to set up on your iPhone or iPad, but once set up, they'll automatically propagate to all your other Apple devices. I went over how it works on a technical, security, and privacy level in my Apple Ecosystem Deep Dive Explainer, link in the description. But basically, any and every device you have on your Apple ID will be immediately available for the AirPods Max. And the AirPods Max will just shift between them as and when you do. It isn't perfect. In fact, it can be downright frustrating at times if they just won't switch to your Mac, for example, or they hyper switch to your iPhone when you don't want them to, unless you disable that in settings. But in my testing, once I got used to how they work, aka last active audio on iOS wins, just nothing else even comes close. And I can already imagine a future version of the AirPods Max that just receive Apple Music and everything else streaming directly into the device like the Apple Watch does. And then it just keeps going from there. All that to say, if you're all in on Apple, you're going to want to at least consider the AirPods Max. When Apple deleted the headphone jack on the iPhone 7 back in 2016, they were starting down a path to a truly wireless world. Actually, stop the stream and rewind that. Because when Apple deleted almost all the ports except for the headphone jack a year earlier on the first 12-inch MacBook, that's when they started down this path. It was the whole hunt for Red October, cortege burning the boat to make everyone committed, cliche writ a decade large. And part of that involves charging, which Apple's been working on since the Apple Watch that they released the same year. Another part, though, involves data, which Apple has likewise been working on with Bluetooth, Bluetooth Low Energy, point-to-point Wi-Fi, AirPlay, and more recently U1 Ultra Wideband. For relatively small, battery-operated devices like the AirPods, even the relatively larger AirPods Max, we're still limited, or we're still being limited to the lowest power draw end of that spectrum. So, Bluetooth, which kind of really sucks. I mean, us nerds will argue over different Bluetooth protocols, lossless versus lossy, and all sorts of codecs, but there are just so many pitfalls and stumbles twixt Studio Master to Bluetooth just beaming through our ugly bags of mostly water bodies and into our ears that's all any of it really is, nerdy arguments. And sure, absolutely, less garbage in, less garbage out. But with AirPods, especially AirPods Max, Apple just doesn't want us to have to worry about any of that. They want us to be able to put on the headphones, play anything off the internet through any of our devices, no matter the compression, no matter the format. If our iPhone or iPad or Mac or watch can play it, we can hear it on the AirPods Max. And as computationally, stupefyingly, I can't believe this is Bluetooth audio as possible. And it works. Everything is just crystal clear and crisp to the point where you'll probably get that feeling you're hearing distinct parts of a composition you never heard or just don't remember ever hearing before. But also now hearing precisely where everything is in the soundstage, all deep and rich and rumbling and soaring. And it's like taking earmuffs off as much as it is putting the headphones on. It's like AirPods Pro, but instead of being in your ear, it's around your ear. So it feels like the music isn't in you so much as you're in the music, in the room filled with the music. Not like open back headphones, but better than closed back headphones. Just really fully immersive. Even at louder volumes, you can use the digital crown like on the Apple Watch at the top of the right can to get really fine-grained control over volume. But even if you crank it, the AirPods Max just do a terrific job of maintaining the quality and character of the audio and avoiding distortion. And you can switch the volume direction in settings to just whichever way feels natural, but also click the crown to skip back and forward to answer and end calls, and hold it down for Siri if for some reason you just don't want to say hey to voice activate it. And calls sound just really, really good. There are like 9 microphones in the AirPods Max, 2 of which do double duty with the noise canceling system, and more on that in just a minute. But one which just cancels wind noise, which is otherwise really annoying on calls. Now, sure, put 100 self-identifying audio files in a room and you'll get 100 different opinions on the highs, the mids, the lows, the bass, the treble. And yes, I've watched all of their reviews, but what's been consistent across them is that for wireless noise-canceling headphones, over-the-ear, closed backs, the AirPods Max sound amongst the best, if not subjectively the best. So if you really want wireless, you're going to want to really consider the AirPods Max. From the very, very beginning, people have said the sound quality of AirPods just aren't worth the price. But also from the very, very beginning, we've never been paying for the sound. Hell, cheap hardwired headphones sound terrific. What we've been paying for is the technology. Things like those 9 microphones, the custom silicon, which is now a 10-core H1 headphone audio processing chip in each can. That's what lets them do things like adaptive EQ, which, instead of bouncing sound off of objects in the room to shape a wide, room-filling 3D soundstage like the HomePod does, just bounces sound around our ears to shape virtually the same thing around our ears, adjusting it for the exact position of the cans on our ears, or anything breaking the seal of the cans themselves, like hair or glasses, or even just when we fidget with them and move them around. The downside is that there's no manual or custom EQ, no way outside some accessibility features to change the way the AirPods Max sound, because Apple can't handle computational audio and manual EQ at the same time yet. So for now, the computational audio system gets to detect and decide everything. That's just the Wookiee that wins. But that's also why I'd never use AirPods Max for audio editing, even with a wire. I worry that they would just automatically just computationally fix any issues with the audio for me that I really want to hear and need to fix manually for everybody. Once the audio editing is done and I'm just laying down B-roll, for example, they're great. But I need to make sure that edit is done on regular headphones first. The computational audio also allows for spatial audio, a recent feature upgrade to the AirPods Pro, because in the age of computational audio, you can now get feature updates to your headphones, which is all shades of cool. But it uses the accelerometer and gyroscope in both the AirPods and your iPhone or iPad to track the relative position of your head and adjust the audio accordingly. Basically, when you're listening to speakers and you turn your head, the audio doesn't turn with you. The speakers stay exactly where they are. But with traditional headphones, when you turn your head, it does, because the headphones turn with your head, which is fine for music, but weird for video. So spatial audio makes headphones behave more like speakers. You turn your head and the audio stays exactly where it is. It's weird, but wonderful. And you just have to try it to really get it. But it only works with the iPhone and iPads for now because they're the only other Apple devices with the matching sensors for now. But I want it. Nay, I need it on the next generation Apple TV stat as possible. As to the noise canceling, it's aces. Again, 100 people with audiophilia in a room, 100 opinions on the relative quality and merits. I do think some other headphones handle the constant din of low-level noise better, like engines or heaters, but the AirPods Max are really, really good at the irregular noises, like background chatter, better even than the AirPods Pro because the physical cans are adding to the effect. Transparency mode sounds better to me too, and you can cycle between noise canceling and transparency with the second button, the one opposite the digital crown on top of the right can. It's a really nice, satisfying clickety-clackety button, and you can go into settings and toggle it to switch between not just noise canceling and transparency mode, but just turning the audio system off if you want to as well. I just wish it wasn't positioned where it is because I press it by accident so always when adjusting the headphones on my head. Sort of like how I still hit the power off button on my iPhone by accident when trying to use the volume buttons to take a photo. Yes, lo these many years later. You also can't switch the sides that the buttons are on, even though the headphone pads themselves are magnetic and detachable and swappable. You can't change left from right, so you can't put the controls on left if for some reason you have accessibility issues with the controls on the right. If that's the case, you'll just have to use the controls on your iPhone or iPad. But when transparency mode is on, everything you need to hear, you hear, and with surprising quality and clarity. Even better, because of the sensors inside the AirPods Max, if you need to hear even more, you can just pull one of the cans off one of your ears. The AirPods Max will detect it and pause so you can listen to whatever it is you want to listen to IRL, and then resume as soon as you let go and the AirPods Max just fall back into place. Same thing with powering on and off. It's all automatic. There's no manual button, nothing for you to press or switch. It's like Apple doesn't want anyone to have to worry about forgetting to turn them off and the battery just draining. So like the AirPods Pro, if you take them off and the sensors don't detect any movement for a few minutes, they'll go into low power mode. And I've left mine for hours and they only lose very low single digit power percentages in that time. And even that is only because Apple leaves Bluetooth and Find My on it first. Bluetooth so you can quickly reconnect if you want to, and Find My so you can track your AirPods Max if you leave them behind or just otherwise lose track of them. Then after 72 hours, when presumably you've done any Find My and tracking you've needed to, if you've needed to, they'll go into ultra low power mode where they can maintain a charge for just ludicrously long periods of time. And if you use the case that comes with them, which honestly looks like chaps to me and seems to do little more than protect the aluminum cans from scuffing, the low power mode will engage as soon as you close the magnetic flap, and the ultra low power mode will engage in 18 hours. Again, still so you have just some time to track them if you need to. And this particular case, yeah, I totally don't get it either, but I've never used any of the cases that have come with any of my headphones. So these are like the Star Wars prequels or sequels for me, and I just prefer to pretend they don't even exist. But if you want something more protective and traditional, maybe one day to travel with, some third-party options are just starting to hit the market, and there'll be more to follow. But Apple's intent here is to reduce stress so that normal humans don't have to worry about micromanaging battery life or power status. But for nerds like us, it'll likely induce stress, specifically because it doesn't let us micromanage battery life or power status. And that's simply because Apple stuff often isn't designed for us, but it's designed so well that we want it anyway, and then we want to change it. But if abstracting away all the noise, figuratively and literally, provides the kind of experience that you enjoy, you may want to consider the AirPods Max. But you might also want the AirPods Max to just be a hell of a lot cheaper, like $200 or more cheaper, around the $300 to $350 price point of a lot of other popular wireless noise canceling over-the-ear headphones. You know, a sporty, more plastic, more entry-level pair, like what the AirPods Nothing are to the AirPods Pro. But that's not what Apple's made, at least not yet. What they made is a premium pair of AirPods Max with stainless steel bands and aluminum cans, space foam, wrapped in acoustic fabric with just a ton of custom silicon and sensors and microphone and speaker tech inside to go with it for $550. Yeah, $550, which just might not be a price you're willing or even able to pay for them, or may just be the wrong product for you. The HomePod OG biggie to the HomePod mini that you really want. And I totally get that. Sometimes Apple starts at the bottom and builds up. Most often though, they start at the top and use those first few premium generations to pay everything down, and then push everything down to the lower priced entry-level models, including just everything named mini. And if that's the case for you, then these aren't your floss style major go, but rather a major no. And there are a bunch of other wireless noise canceling over-the-ear headphones at that much lower price point. They don't offer everything the AirPods Max do, but they don't cost anywhere nearly as much either, and that could be just the best value for you. Now, yes, other headphones don't just use plastic to save on cost. They often use it to save on weight, And because of the materials here, because of the aluminum, the stainless steel, the AirPods Max are heavy. I don't find them particularly heavy when I'm just wearing them, but if I'm moving, if I'm turning, if I'm stopping and starting, there is absolutely momentum that can and will move them around on your head. And while that's not a deal breaker for me, it may be an annoyance for you. Also, the AirPods Max don't offer anything in the way of water resistance. So beyond just the weight and the momentum, there is no protection against rain or drizzle or splashes or even sweat. So if you are looking for over-the-ear headphones to work out with, these are just not the over-the-ear headphones that you're looking for. Unlike traditional Apple EarPods and AirPods though, they do come in more than one color. In addition to white, you can get them in space gray, green, blue, and pink. And the colors of the aluminum match the colors of the iPad Air, while the colors of the cloth match the colors of the iPhone 12. So all your Apple stuff can do the two-tone match. And if you use a lot of hair products, you probably want to get one of the darker colors and not the lighter colors either. If you are all in on Apple hardware and listen to a ton of music and videos, streaming and otherwise, and you want wireless and noise canceling and prefer over-the-ear headphones, and $550 either isn't a lot of money to you, or you feel the AirPods Max provide more than enough value to be worth that $550 for you anyway, then the AirPods Max are just the best computational headphones and all-around personal Apple audio experience you can get right now. This pair are a review unit courtesy of Apple, but I like them so much I ordered a pair almost immediately for myself as well. Like with Apple's other recent computational efforts, they just feel like the beginning of something really, really cool. We're getting to the limits of what atoms can do on their own, at least at the smallest end of the mobile scale, and I can't wait to see where bits can just keep pushing us and the technology forward. Just like I can't wait to see what I can do to keep pushing myself forward in 2021 to learn more and better, like from Thomas Frank and his new productivity class, which teaches how to build a sustainable set of habits without feeling like a failure, which honestly has been something I've always struggled with, particularly this year. Thomas goes through his research, his experience, and his own trial and error, and lays out the groundwork for lasting habits, which is just so important right now when so many of us are wondering what's going on, what's even happening next, and are looking for ways to create some sort of structure to meet some even small set of goals so we can regain that small sense of control and accomplishment that we kind of need right now. That's the real power of Skillshare. It isn't just one class, even several classes. It's an online learning community that offers membership with meaning and with an annual subscription that's less than $10 a month. And there are classes on illustration and design and photography and video and freelancing and more with real projects to create and the support of real fellow creatives. More than 7 million of us learning with Skillshare. And the first 1,000 of you who click on the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. Yeah, free. Act now and start learning today. And clicking on that link just really helps out the channel. For more on AirPods Max, just click the playlist above and check out my deep dive and Q&A. Just click on the playlist and I'll see you in the next video.